now.
Thank you, Dave. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Geoffrey Smith. I'm the Chief Instructor here at DTI. I want to run you through some tools inside of our software that basically we're going to be looking at scanning for stocks and then trying to figure out which one's the strongest ones, which ones are the weakest ones, and kind of go from there. We also have a feature I'll kind of show you after I take you through the hard stuff, show you the easy way. We actually have the thing that actually put up a trade inside the software. So, and we'll kind of go from there. First of all, just a little about myself. I've been trading since the mid 80s. My father went through the school of hard knocks, and he didn't want his sons to do the same thing. So he actually took it upon himself to really teach us about the market, regardless of what field that we went into. We had to read books and magazines and newspapers and all this good stuff. Just to kind of start learning more and more about the market. He had a stockbroker in Oklahoma City. His name was Tom Busby, who's actually the founder of DTI. And he asked him to kind of help him out, and he did. We spent time in Tom's office. He was a vice president at Smith Barney at the time in Oklahoma City, where I'm from. And he took us and showed us how they place trades and how they analyze stocks and all this good stuff. Then we went to an investor boot camp in Provo, Utah, put on by a gentleman named Howard Ruffin. Got to meet a lot of the gurus and stuff like that back then. John Bollinger was there and all that stuff. And when we got back from there, he sat us both down. He opened up an account for each of us with $10,000 in it, told us we could make money with it or not, but he never gave us another dime. And he held to his word. So, but anyway, I got a couple of degrees in engineering as a pipeline engineer throughout the 90s, but I'd be waking up early in the morning, trading the S&P futures pre-market. Then when the day market kind of opened up, of course, I had to go to work. I get home at lunch, kind of check out trades and all this good stuff and go back to work. Did that for about 10 years. And then Tom started a school down here, DTI, and asked me to come down and help him out. So I packed up my family out of the panhandle of Texas, moved to Mobile, and been teaching and trading ever since. I've traded in just about every market out there, not every vehicle by any means, but I'm mostly a commodity trader now, but I do enjoy trading in the equity and the equity options and stuff like that. But of course, in this market is kind of crazy. We've got a lot of volatility now and stuff like that. So we'll just kind of go from there. So of course, there is risk in trading. Past performance not indicative of future results. Can't afford the loss, don't take the trade. And just beware that you can lose in trading. Nobody's ever 100%. There it is. But if you can, win more than losing, you're doing pretty good. So real quickly, I want to go through some of the scans in the software first, just so you can understand what they're doing. Then I'll show you what a dashboard is. It's a really cool little tool. We'll grab the stocks out of the scans and chunk them into a dashboard. And then we'll take those and put them into a trade tracker. And again, we'll discuss that once we get there. Then I'll show you the rapid trade. And that's the one that kind of does all of this in the background and says, here, buy this or short this or whatever it is. So from there, let's go to the roadmap. I'm going to go right to here and get rid of that real quick. So I shut everything down. We can actually create workspaces and have all kinds of stuff. You can make RoadMap as complicated as you want or as simple as you want. But we'll just kind of start from scratch here just a little bit. Up at the very, very top, and I'm going to get a draw tool real quickly. We're going to go up here to the very top right here and a thing called scans. So once we click on that, there's various ones in here. I want to start out with what we call the high noon here real quickly. And here we go. So what this is doing is, and you'll notice that we're going to see bunches of numbers. And just because charts are made from numbers, but we got to know what prices are where, right? So this is checking out the month open, looking at the last price, and then it looks at the previous week's high and low. So if we're above the month open and above the previous week's high, it's going to be green. If we're below the month open and below the previous week's low, it's red. So basically we're looking for an uptrend or downtrend, right? Also, this just gives you a whole long list of everything in the world in this dog. And so what we do now, we can go to the top 20 longs here. And what this is doing is it's looking at a percent change from that month open. And so it's grabbing the one that has the largest percent change up, or the weakest percent change down from that month open, and grabs the top 20 of them. You'll notice they'll throw some futures in here. That ZL that you see right there is bean oil, soybean oil. So, but these are your very top ones out of that big long list there. And if you look over here, here's the shorts. Of course, Netflix, their earnings came out and they got dumped off, right? So, but it picks up the shorts in here as well. So I can very quickly find out which stocks are the long side, which ones are on the short side. And so I can grab these and start putting them into what I call, what the software says, it's a dashboard. So I'm going to go to launch here, and I'm going to open that up very quickly. And you can see I got quite a few of them, but we'll just make a new one. And I'm going to pop some of these stocks in here just for fun. EQT, UAN, was it PBF, MUSA, E. So we'll just put a couple of those in there. Let's put a couple of the short ones in there too, just for fun. Netflix. PSTREN. There we go. So, and you can put them all in there if you'd like, but just for time's sake here, we'll just do these few ones. So I'm going to double click on one of these. What it's going to do is going to throw a chart on the right side. And what this chart is, just to go through it very quickly, this is what we call a compass chart. Here along the left side, it gives you some information. One is the ATR. It's a simple average range, but it's a 14-day average range. You'll notice there's an intraday. Let me get my little pen back here. Where is it? You notice right up here toward the top, you have an intraday and a swing and a long. The intraday defaults to a 30-minute chart. The swing goes to a daily chart. The long goes to a weekly chart. So what this ATR is going to change depending on if you're on one of those tabs, all right? But this is a 14-day average for this stock. And it literally just looks at, high minus low over the 14 days, takes an average, and there it is. The ID is like the beta, but we don't use the close. We use the opens on everything. The close, you can't trade that, but we can trade based off the open, right? Because we can have to trade the right side of the chart. So we always look at things based off of open, just because if we're above open, that means it's moving higher. It's just like Netflix. I mean, this is kind of a big example here, but Netflix, earnings came out, they slammed them down, right? But if the next day they start moving above their open of that day, I mean, Netflix could go up 10, 15, 20 bucks. And based off the previous day's close, it's still down, but yet it went up today. So that's why we do things based off the open. I want to see what things are doing now, not what they did. Now, it's not to say that we won't go back and look at history to find support and resistance, stuff like that. So, but anyway, then you have this RB open, and then notice it's blue. And you'll notice that this horizontal line here is blue. And you'll also notice that this bar right here is blue. All right. So that open is that horizontal blue line, but it's the open of that blue bar. Now we paint some of the bars blue because we want to know those specific times of day. In futures, like the S&P 500 futures, I noticed that I think his name was Casey was showing that earlier. The futures are open 24 hours a day, basically 23 hours if you want to get real exact. So we wanted to see how those futures are trading through the Asian markets, through the European markets, our morning market here, and our afternoon market. All right. So we mark those different time segments. So if we just real quickly, I'm going to get rid of my chicken scratch here. We just put the S&P futures in here. Okay. So you'll notice over in here, right there, this blue bar right there, this is for the Asian markets last night. That's actually 5 p.m. Central Time. That blue bar goes from 5 to 5:30 in the evening Central Time. And you'll notice that the Asian markets basically kind of floated higher. Then we get to the European markets. This goes between 3:30 and 4 a.m. Central Time. They dipped off and they kind of bounced back up. Now, this right here is an added bar. We call it reference bar X. That's based off where we are at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I throw that in there just because that's when a lot of the equities will start trading in the morning, the pre-market stuff. They'll start out around 6 o'clock in the morning. So I want to kind of see where that is at that time to see if it's trending higher or trending lower. We can also, get a lot of news at 7:30 in the morning, so we can kind of see if it's breaking lower or breaking higher. But this is actually the next reference bar right there. That's reference bar 3, and that goes at 8:30 opening bell to 9 o'clock in the morning. So you'll notice they kind of shot up here and they kind of broke back below that open, and now we've been kind of pushing down ever since. So those are the reference bars. So we have those 4 different reference bars. When it comes to equities, there's only 2 reference bars in a day. The 8:30 one, we have another one that's going to be forming at 12:30 in the afternoon, Central Time, 12:30 to 1, and we'll use that for the afternoon session. So, but that's what that RB open is, kind of a long description there, but whatever. This gives you the current day's high and low, gives you your week open, month open, and year open. Now, this is a futures contract, so that year open is off this futures contract. We were actually trading the March contract back when. And then you'll notice we have this buy zone and sell zone. All right. So down here is your sell zone, sell. And if I can get my mouse back, I'll move this thing up. Up here's your buy zone. And that gives you basically those prices of that buy zone and the target and the sell zone and the target. So I can find out if it's going to be strong or weak. And you'll find that will a lot of times hold support on the sell zone, hold resistance on the buy zone. But once they break into it, then it'll start moving. But what we want is a confirmation bar. So what we want is one bar to penetrate up into it. Let me clear this off again. So if this bar, let's just say, actually moved into this sell zone a little bit, all right? And then this bar here exceeds a lower low, right? And that's when we probably go short on the S&P and see if it will come down and test that target down there. And that's a pretty good little move. I mean, looking for about a 30-point move just because we're moving, 70 points in a day now. So we got more volatility and stuff like that. But that's basically how you use the compass chart, is using those buy zones and sell zones. All right. But notice the background of this chart is green. And the reason for that is because it's above that range right there. All right. So that range kind of gives you the color of the background. So if it's below that range, that background will be red. If it's above that range, it'll be green. If it's inside of it, it'll be yellow, right? So but we can very quickly kind of pop down through all of these and find out, if they're strong or if they're weak. And you'll notice we only have one green one. And what this is doing, let me get this here, spread this out a little bit. What this is doing, you'll notice it says buy zone, sell zone. If it's red, it's in the sell zone. If it's green, it's in the buy zone. If it's white, it's in between the zones. So if we go over here and just click on this EQT, you'll notice, get rid of all my chicken scratch there, that we came into the sell zone this morning right there. It exceeded that on that bar. If you would have shorted that or bought puts or bought a put spread or sold a call spread, whatever you want to do, it's actually come down and it's hit that target. And it's actually exceeded that target a little bit. So you had a nice little trade down here. UAN, it's gone into the sell zone, but you don't have anything confirming that yet. In fact, they almost went to target, so I probably wouldn't take that one anyway. Look at this one. Sell zone, exceeded the sell zone. There's that outside bar, right? But it'll come back down in here and probably come into this support down in here. But you can kind of see how that kind of helps you out, saying where do you buy it, where do you sell it, just based off of that. Now, another thing we can do in this, which I like it just because if you have a very, very, very long list of stocks, I mean, you might have 100 stocks inside of this dashboard, and it's hard to go down through and scan them all, right? And find out which ones are green and which ones are red. There's a thing in here, I can right click on it, and it's called horse race sorting. And I'm going to open that up. I'm going to start that, and you'll notice it's going to throw the weaker ones on the bottom and the stronger ones on the top. All right. Now we don't have very many stocks in here. Let's just kind of throw some more in here. Let's do 3M and JP Morgan, IBM, Disney. What's another one? Just for a little bit there. Well, whose earnings came out? FCX came out today. What was the other one I was looking at? Dow Chemical, wasn't it? And Philip Morris, Sunoco. There, throw some of those in there real quick. So you notice it's starting to adjust itself here, putting the ones that are green at the top, the ones that are red on the bottom. And so it'll jostle them back and forth. So if I can get market direction based off of the indexes, if the indexes are heading higher, I know with what I have in this, these are the ones that I want to buy. If the indexes are heading lower, these are the ones I want to short. So I can have the software tell me which ones are strong and which ones are weak. All right. And that's the purpose of this. So I can go to my scans, figure out, okay, well, these are the ones that are stronger off the previous week's high and low, off that high noon thing that we just looked at. I can take them, I can chunk them into here, and then I can have it sort itself. Now, how it's sorting it is kind of like I was showing you in high noon. There was a percent change from the month open. Remember that? Well, this is going for a percent change from open. And what I mean by open is that horizontal blue line from the today's open. So these have the strongest move up, and NUE is the strongest one out of the group. These have the biggest move down, and run is the weakest one out of this group based off of a percent move from the open. All right. And you can kind of see here on run real quickly. It came into the sell zone, it surpassed it, and you'll notice there's a red arrow there, and it's come down and it's hit that target. Done deal, right? So we have the weakest one here, and NUE to the upside, huge move, right? Let's get something that's a little more. Well, that one even did too. So this is Dow. I mean, they just zinged them this morning. Let's look at IBM, see if it's a little better. How about Philip Morris? Oh, they're just, well, here you go. This one went into the buy zone here, buy it here, got to target, and it's kind of hanging up there now. So you can kind of see the strong ones are definitely strong today. The weak ones are definitely trying to head lower. So, but once I figure this out, all right, and get everything going, and like I said, over time, I mean, I have one that's probably got, I don't know, 80, 90 stocks in it. So I can just kind of scan through it very quickly and find out who are the stronger stocks and who are the weaker stocks. And if you want to do it with like futures and commodities, you can make one with just all futures and commodities and do the exact same thing. So I can find out very quickly who's strong and who's weak, instead of me having to pull up a million charts and trying to figure out, okay, is this one trending up or is this one trending down? This already tells me that. Another one that I like to look at, and we'll just kind of scrunch this up a little bit here. I'm going to go to tables. I'm going to go to a trade tracker. Here we go. And we'll just make one on our own here. There we go. It's another table, like an Excel spreadsheet, right? So we're going to just come in here and start typing in some of these. NUE, DOW, IBM, PM, say JPM, DIS, SON, and you can kind of see it starting to kind of fill in here a little bit. So what this does, again, looks at the month open. Here's the last price. But notice there's a WS high and WS low. The WS stands for week start. Now, most people think the week starts on Monday. There it is. And most weeks do, but sometimes Monday's a holiday, right? So the week would actually start on Tuesday. So we look at the week start as opposed to just Monday's high and low. We not have to wait to Tuesday's high and low to have that. But this is the high and low of the first trading day of the week. All right. Then here's your 5-day high and low and 10-day high and low. So what we're really wanting to see is if we're above the month open, okay, we're up this month as opposed to down this month. And are we above Monday's high and low or below Monday's high and low? So notice in UE here, your Monday's high was 172.07, and right now we're at 185. So it's busted that and taken off. Of course, today's Thursday. We even saw a chart of it and it had a huge move today, right? But what you're wanting to see is these first 4 here, green for the upside, and the first 4 here, red for the downside. So if I have these 4 red, we're below Monday's low, we're below the month open, then I know that Disney should be trending down. And got some crazy stuff pre-market, post-market. In fact, I'll download the data to see if it cleans it up. Probably won't. They just bounce all over the place, pre-market, post-market. But now here we've come into the sell zone. So all I have to do now is wait until the next bar and see if I get a confirmation into the sell zone. And then I can go out and buy puts or short the stock or sell call spreads or whatever you want to do. That's literally what you're trying to do. You're trying to figure out which ones are strong and which ones are weak. In the scans up here, you'll notice there's also a 2% scan. And I kind of like this one too. I'll show you one that's kind of cool on options in a minute. So what this is doing is it's basically just grabbing the month open and saying, are we 2% above it or 2% below it? And again, we have our top 20 longs and shorts. This is the percent change of these stocks and futures and things like that. You've had a 30% up move in, what is that? It's like integrated potash or something like that. Integrated, I forget it. Anyway, but there's that EQT, UAN. You can kind of see these all had a big move up from the month open. And of course, here's the ones that are really weak. Fiber's 24% down, SAVA down 47% from its month open. So you can very, very quickly figure out which ones are your strong ones and which ones are your weak ones once again, right? So, but this is a kind of a bigger picture. It's just a 2% move as opposed to the high noon that's looking at the previous week's high and low. And of course, on the trade tracker, it's looking at Monday's high and low. So we're kind of smashing down the time frames a little bit in here to get into where we can go over to the compass chart and say, hey, are we hitting the sell zone or are we hitting the buy zone? And that's really what this thing is doing. Another scan that's really neat to look at, especially if you like, trading options. Yeah, no, this isn't it. Wrong one. I want this one. There we go. This is what we call pops and drops. And we download a document each evening and from a company called Delta Neutral. And it costs about $500 a year for it. But it's every option that is available out there, and it gives you a ton of information on the equity and the option and stuff like that. And we take it and we filter it all out. And this is done on a server that we have. And so, I mean, if you think about just looking at, I don't know, Amazon, how many strikes on an Amazon option are there, right? 100 more, who knows? But it takes all of those. There's over probably 1 million options that this thing has to go through each night. And since we keep the data, it keeps a history of it. Now, options expire, so some of them are probably worthless, but it keeps a history of them. And what we do is we run right now a 5-day average on it. And we look at that 5-day average and say, this is the average volume over 5 days on this option. And if the next day it exceeds that by 3 times, that means 3 times the average volume, then it chunks it into this report. What we're trying to do is figure out, where all the volume stepping into the option. So if there's a lot of volume in an option, we know that thing's probably going to be moving, or it's going to be, pushing higher, pushing lower. Now, what this report doesn't tell you, and you have to kind of go look at them, like on this SPY option here, notice the 445 call, here's a 447 call, here's a 445 call, but they have different expirations. So the question is, are they selling that option or are they buying that option, right? So are they shorting the calls or are they buying the calls? Or are they, basically doing covered calls or whatever you want to look at it. So you don't know what direction it is, but you know that on these call options, there's a lot of volume there. So what I always do is I'll start going over and looking at a chart and saying, well, it bought a 160 call in Walmart just because it's at 161 right now. So it's probably going to be pushing higher. That's the speculation behind it. Now, if you had the 160 call and Walmart's trading at 155 or 156, odds are they're selling that call and don't expect it to get above 160. So that's what this is doing, is just notifying you of, hey, there's a lot of volume in these options. And down here, of course, are all the puts that there's an increase in volume on as well. So, and there's your last price, and this is the average that we are looking. This is the 5-day average, basically what we're looking at. So somehow, there was 3 times that volume on that thing. So on this one, you probably had somewhere around 160, 170 contracts on that AAL. Well, their earnings came out this morning. So my guess that they might have been, selling that put. I don't know. The airlines have been doing better here lately. So, but anyway, but this is a great little scan just to kind of go through and find out what options. And of course, you can look at the stocks and go, okay, well, if they're trading the options on these stocks, then odds are those stocks are probably moving around. Of course, the SPY moves around quite a bit. So now, once you get all of this, then you can kind of start deciding, hey, I can go long, I can go short. There's another thing in here. I'm going to show you the rapid trade, and then I'll show you some other cool little features that we have in here. There's a rapid trade in here. And what it's doing is it's going through these scans and finding the strongest stocks and the weakest stocks. And once it does that, and this is it in the background, it comes in and it throws it into a trade tracker. And it finds out if we have all 4 of these green or all 4 of these red. And it'll say, hey, here's your strong one, or hey, here's your weak one. And then it'll tell you, and I'll show you with this thing, launch and the rapid trade. This is what was on the screen when we were first getting on here. At the top, it says buy a monthly call NUE, which we see that NUE has been very strong, right? With a delta of 50. That's an at the money call. Now, this monthly call, depending on where you are in the month, just beware. I don't like to, if tomorrow is the monthly option, basically the 3rd Friday of the month, it'd be kind of risky or worthless, in my opinion, to be doing anything with that call. So what I do is I'll go out probably to the next week. If I'm in this week, I trade next week's option, regardless of the day. Now, noting this, let me show you this very quickly. Remember, we have the week start, high and low, right? So it's got to be above basically the first day's trading of the week, Monday in this case. So I have to be above Monday's high or below Monday's low. So this will not pop up. Well, it'll pop up, but it'll give you no trades on Monday because it doesn't have a Monday high and low. So on Monday, this will just say there's no trade. Then on Tuesday, it'll start popping things out. Now, there are times it can't find anything. There's nothing strong enough or weak enough to throw it in here. So it might give you just the call side only, or it might just give you the put side only. So it might not have both of them. But this is saying do a Netflix put with a delta of 50, which is an at the money put, or this NUE with a delta of 50, which is an at the money call. Now, if you want to do a call spread, that's fine. If you want to do a put spread, that's fine. But it's done all the work for you, and it spits it out. Now, you can have this automatically pop up on your screen, and I think it's defaulted that way, but you can also turn it off. You can go up into setup and you can go into, I think it's computer here. Yeah, right there. Right down here, it says auto display rapid trade. And what this does, it'll pop up on your screen at 11 a.m. Eastern time every day if you have that checked. If it's unchecked, then it won't pop up at all. You'll just have to do it manually. So, but it'll pop up on your screen. And if you're inclined to do so, if you have the RoadMap software, you can actually send us an email and we'll actually set you up to where that will come out via email and text. So you'll get it texted to you each and every day if you want to see it. So, which is pretty cool because a lot of people don't sit at their computers and at the office all the time, right? People get up and around, and maybe you have to go into a meeting, get a text and go, oh, I'll go look at NUE and Netflix, right? So, but it's a really neat little trade tool, and you'll have to go out and decide which option you want to do. And you're not going to find one at exactly 50. Here, let's go look at, let me get back to this mouse. There we go. And we'll clear things off here. So real quickly, let's go look at NUE and Netflix. I'm gonna get this off of here. We'll just close these out for right now. We already know NUE, and it took off big time, right? Netflix, we don't have it in here, NFLX. And here's Netflix, which it should be. It's going to be very weak just because their earnings came out and they got hammered. But man, this thing has moved quite a bit. You'll notice we've come into the sell zone here, and they're kind of bouncing back up a little bit. See what they do if they'll hold some resistance there and kind of roll back over. But you'd be looking at just a delta of 50. Now I was going to pull up my Thinkorswim here real quickly. Let's chunk in NUE. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention. When that rapid trade pops up, it also filters out only stocks with weekly options. All right. It won't do any stocks. It just has monthly options only. So if you're looking at a stock like O'Reilly Auto Parts, right? ORLY, they only have monthly options. So it will never come up in that rapid trade. It only does something that has weekly options. So here's NUE, right? And you'll notice the delta here. We're right around this 187 area, but you notice we have a 47 and a 54. So you can do either one. The 54 is going to be a little bit in the money. The 47 is going to be a little bit out of the money. So it all depends on what you want to do there. Doesn't look like they're trading this one. There's no volume on it. So you probably have to go up here to that one. But anyway, but that's what it's saying. Get one with, it's going to be around 0.50. And of course, there's one on the, what was it? Netflix, NFLX. And move that. But on Netflix, you're looking at somewhere around, where's my, there it is over there on the far side. It's going to be either the 217 or the 215. We're right at 215 right now. So, but which expensive options, $8. You might want to do like a 215, 210 put spread or something like that. $5 wide spread for next week or something like that. But anyway, but that's what it's basically telling you to do is go out and try to find something. Like I said, I'll usually go out to the next week. I won't look at really the monthly option, but sometimes it will be. But it makes it to where it makes it pretty simple. Just go out, find something that's got, a delta around 50. You can buy that call and buy that put. I actually keep track of the ones that come out on Wednesdays. I actually have a Google spreadsheet that I keep track of them just to see how they're doing. And if you look at them, let me just go grab this sheet for you real quick and I'll show it to you. Hadn't had the feature in there all that long. Rapid trade results. There we go. And here's the results of it. ROST was last week and actually came out yesterday also. So, and you'll notice it's going to be the next week's option. And there's, looks like there's, what is that, 18, there's 16 trades here basically. And of those 16 trades, there's one that lost and there's one that lost. Oh, there's three of them. There's one there, and one there. So, but you're net up just trading one contract, $2,240. And this is just Wednesdays only. It's not every day, which does come out every day, but it's just Wednesdays only. So it's pretty accurate. I mean, it works really, really well. It doesn't work every time. It's not 100%, but if you can do what, lose 3 out of 16, that's not bad at all. But anyway, but that's the rapid trade. So, but it'll pop up on your screen each and every day. There's another one in here, and it's specifically for just the SPY. It's not within times. Dang, no, it's not going to do it. Before I started this morning, this actually popped up and it'll tell you based off the S&P, the NASDAQ, and what's the other one it uses? I can't remember, but basically it's looking at the strength of them, and it'll actually pop up on your screen saying, hey, buy put options on the SPY or buy call options on the SPY. So the SPY. So those are the two little trade factors. Where was the rapid trade? The rapid trade is under launch, and there's rapid trade right there. If you don't have it, it's in the RoadMap 2022 version. It's not in the RoadMap 2021, and you need to have the latest version downloaded to have it working accurately. So, but another thing that I like looking at, and a lot of people don't really care for it a whole lot, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. There's a thing called the railroad track, and I think this will work just fine. There we go. So, and you can use equities in here. There's got mostly futures. You got the SPY, DIA, QQQ in here, UPRO for whatever reason. So it's all just indexes. If you're not familiar with it, the DAX is like our Dow. It's just in Germany, and the Euro Stocks 50 are the 50 largest market cap companies in Europe. So you have in the Eurozone. We have any counter trend indicators? Well, I mean, we were looking at that dashboard, and if you got all the indexes moving up, are you trying to sell resistance? Is that what you're trying to do, and buy support? Is that what you're trying to do, William? Okay. No, I mean, you can have just a regular chart and put, moving averages and MACD and RSI and all that stuff on them in here if you want to do that. There's nothing in here that says, hey, this is hitting a resistance point or this is hitting a support point that I can think of at this point in time. So, but anyway, move on here just a little bit. So anyway, that's the DAX and Euro stocks. If you go over here to the Delta page, this is the one that I like to go in and look at every now and then. Like I said, you could put stocks in here or whatever, just to run down through this very quickly. Here at the top, we have this mini pivot and this ETR. So what the mini pivot is the open of the current 30-minute bar. All right. So right now we're at the 10:30 to 11 Central Time bar. So that's the open of that bar. This right here is the current price. So you'll notice we opened this 30-minute bar 8 or 9 minutes ago at 44.75 on the S&P. And right now we're at 44.68. Well, it's below that, so it's red. That's pretty simple. But you'll notice the next line says delta from mini pivot, which is the change from that mini pivot. So it's down 7.5 points from where it started this 30-minute bar. All right. Now, of course, here's your Dow and here's your NASDAQ and here's the Russell and all those other ones. The predicted here is based off the bottom line. And what it's doing is it's taking the 14-day average. Remember, we were talking about that on the compass chart. It looks on a 30-minute, it looks at a 14-day average. So it looks at that 14-day average and says, okay, on average, these things move this much in a day. And so we put that in terms of the S&P. So for every 1 point move in the S&P based off the average, the Dow should move 7 points in theory, right? The NASDAQ 5 points, the Russell almost a half point, and so on and so forth. So it's saying, okay, if I'm down 9, I should be down 58. 53 is moving around a lot. So I should be down this much, but it's not. It's down only 49. So the Dow is actually stronger than the S&P at this point. It hadn't moved down as much, right? You look at the NASDAQ here, it's supposed to be down 41, it's down 44. So it's weaker. So I can very quickly say, okay, they're all moving down, but who's the weakest one and who's the strongest one, right? Because you want to short the weakest one and you want to buy the strongest one. And you can kind of go down through there. Well, what I can do is I come in here and I start looking at just these numbers. And it's just a ballpark. I mean, I got 7 in the Dow, I got 5 in the NASDAQ, I got a half a point in the Russell, whatever it is. And I can start looking at where things started from the open, right? Even from the mini pivot, whichever you want to do. And I can find out very quickly who's the strong one, who's the weak one. Or if we have news, right? Say we had, I don't know, CPI or whatever come out at 7:30 in the morning. And you get a big spike up and you can see all of them kind of moving around and all moving higher. Well, I can real quickly go, okay, well, that thing just moved 7 points in the S&P. I don't know right then, NASDAQ ought to have moved 35 points, right? And the Dow 49, just doing quick math in my head here. So then I look at them and go, well, the NASDAQ, it went 50 points, because that's 15 points further than it should have. And the Dow only went 35 points. So all of a sudden I know the NASDAQ's stronger on this move from what the S&P did, right? And of course, if they're all weaker than the S&P is the strongest market. So, but like I said, you could put the SPY DIA QQQ in here. You can, I mean, even compare them to, Walmart and Disney and Home Depot and all that stuff even, all right? Now, the one thing you don't want to do with this, all right, one thing you don't want to do, actually, I do have a counter trend. Give me a second. I just now thought of that when you type that VIX in there, but give me a second here. So the one thing you don't want to do, this is kind of a short-term indicator. This is going off of point moves, all right? It's not going off percent moves. Markets move in percents usually. So, but this is a point move. So be very, very careful on saying, hey, what if we went back down to 665, 75 on the S&P? No, that was the low in 2009, right? Well, you're going to have markets go negative because it's so far down there. I mean, like I said, it is point moves. So you might have the NASDAQ negative 200 points. Well, it's not going to go negative 200 points. So, but on a shorter term basis, inside of a week or so, that's pretty good. And that's why I come back and look at this every now and then, because those numbers are going to change. You're going to have one get more volatile and one less volatile, and they're going to kind of move around a little bit. Usually the Dow moves about 10 points for every point in the S&P. Well, now it's at 7. So I know that it's kind of compressed a little bit based off what the S&P has been doing. Now, to answer William's question here really quickly, because I thought of it. Let me get rid of my trash here. Remember this mini pivot in ETR, because what we're going to do is open up a page that has that on there. We're going to go to tables. I'm going to go to an ETR page, and we'll just grab this one here. And it's not going to get much on the issues or the Dow 5 or the Dow 5C, so don't worry about that. All right. So here's the 30-year yield. In fact, let's just, what the heck, put the VIX in here, VIX. There's the VXX, VXX. There we go. we know that it usually will go opposite in the direction, right? So this is green, these are red, so on and so forth. You can, in this page, right click on this in that column, and you can go to, where is it? Contra flag right there. And when you do that, it'll change the color of it to see if it's in trend going opposite direction, right? If it's in trend with the indexes. So now, and I've got that done on the bonds, I'm pretty sure. Nope, there we go. So bonds will usually go opposite the S&P, but bonds have been in a downtrend. And if the S&P and everybody's going down, just because interest rates have been moving up. But you can put a contra flag on there to get what it should be going in the opposite direction. Now, bonds don't always go in opposite direction of the indexes, but it usually does. Because usually when the markets are moving higher, the economy is doing real well and they're raising interest rates, right? So, but here lately, we've got really inflationary things going on. So it's going to kind of jack that around a little bit. So you might want to just take that off for now and see if it trends with the S&P down NASDAQ. So you can put that contra flag on there. So with that, that's a lot of information. I know it is, just to find out, where to buy something, where to sell something, but that's really what the software is there for, us to analyze and try to make things as simple as possible. So I can find out what are the strong stocks, what are the weak stocks, throw it on a compass chart, and then I can start finding out if it's hitting the buy zone or hitting the sell zone. And then I can get a confirmation on that. I can go out and start buying and selling. It works very, very well every day. If you're wanting to do something more on a swing type or longer term, on the compass chart, let's just go to that NUE. There we go. This is a daily chart. You'll notice that we came up into the buy zone on it and it smoked up through it. This is on a daily. On a weekly, same thing, came into the buy zone, went up and got past the target actually. So, you'd be buying this thing somewhere around 164. The target on there was 174 and it went past it by 10 points. So, but you can do this on a longer term basis, or you can do it on a shorter term basis. I think that's a bad tick. It is. Okay. So, but you can do that. That's one thing that's really nice about the compass charts, is that once you find your strong stocks, weak stocks, you can have 4 or 5 charts on your screen. You can also make workspaces and stuff like that inside of here that work out pretty well. So is there any questions on what I covered? Kind of like drinking out of a fire hydrant, I know, but alrighty. Well, if you want to, let me go back over to my PowerPoint here. The RoadMap software, we actually, of course, you can get the RoadMap software for as long as you want. You want it for a year, or lifetime, whatever it may be. But it's actually there to kind of help us manage our portfolios and finding out what's strong and weak, and it can alert us to say, hey, you're long this stock, but it just now busted into the sell zone. You still want to own it, right? So, and that's the thing that we use it for, is a great analytical tool. You can get the RoadMap software, of course, allows you to look at any markets. There's actually a RoadMap trader course in our members area that you'll have access to. That course, I think, has 15 separate videos on all the different features and how to use it to trade and things like that. The 4 patterns module is in the members area as well. Basically, it's showing you how to trade off the buy zones and how to trade off the sell zones. That's what those 4 patterns are. There's also a trade management course in there that we give you just so you can learn to manage trades a little better. And then, of course, there's the rapid quick start. What this is, I got 7 videos in it, and basically is a simple way to set up your roadmap for starters. You go in and you create different features inside of there. You can put them all, arrange them on your screen or on different tabs, like an Excel spreadsheet has those tabs on the bottom. You can create those different tabs, make your own workspace, save the workspace, and every time you open it up, it'll come up the way you had it before. So it's pretty cool. And of course, we have a no nonsense guarantee. If you don't like it, we'll give you your money back. There it is. So you get the software, the trader course, 4 patterns module, trade management course, access to all of our things inside the members area. There's a lot of free stuff in there. We have full technical support. We have great guys that help you set it up and install it for you. Just you have to just kind of set up a time with them and they'll do that. So, and of course, our guarantee. Also, if you end up getting the roadmap today, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time, we will get back together and we'll kind of go through the roadmap very slowly, take our time, answer any questions that you have. And if you want all of this, you can have a 1-month trial for $29. Go to DTITrader.com/RM trial, or you can call the 904-416-1776, and you can get all this at your fingertips for a month. It is a standalone software. Now the data feed to it, actually the easiest one to put onto it would be probably the TD Ameritrade feed. We actually will pull the data from them into it, but they'll show you how to do that once you get set up with it. So, but thank you, David. Appreciate that. So, but anyway, if you want to kick the tires on all roadmap for a month, $29, and it's yours for the month. And if you want to get it longer than that, go for it. So, but I guess I'm like 3 minutes early. Interactive brokers. Yes, I use IB, and it works wonderful with interactive brokers. If you used to have an Options Express account and it got moved to Schwab, then you can use the Schwab data. We had an agreement with Options Express, and they honored that agreement when they bought them. So if your Options Express account went to Schwab, then you can use that Options Express data that they still make available to us. Now, well, I've been talking to Schwab about them giving us an API that we can program to and just get their data. But they just bought TD Ameritrade, right? And so they're holding off on doing that just because they want to get absorb TD Ameritrade and then go from there. I think they're going to try to do the API to like Thinkorswim or something like that. So all the data that we had here was real-time data. Now the TD Ameritrade feed, I think that data is 15 minutes delayed on the equities, but on the futures it's live. I don't know why they do that. You'd think it'd be the other way around, but that's what they do with that. So, but anyway, go to DTITrader.com/RM trial, and you can kick the tires on all roadmap and have all the cool little tools that are inside of it. So with that, I will wind things up, David.